Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma Lefebvre, and today we're going to be testing out Beam Paints. Beam Paints is a female indigenous company that crafts paints on Manitoulin Island just off Lake Huron. They create these beautifully natural and stunning looking products that I just had to try. So I originally got an ad from Indigo and I saw it and I was like, what are those? So I looked them up and I just had to get some. Unfortunately, they were out of all the ones I wanted to test on their website, so I did purchase from Indigo, but the package just arrived with 30 minutes left of my workday, so let's get to it and test these out.
So the first thing I noticed that I really loved about this company was that there was zero plastic in any of their packaging, and everything was very natural and beautiful and very nature-like. So like I said, zero plastic. This is the watercolor palette that I got, and I know it looks really small, and it is quite small. I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger, but the aesthetics of the whole thing was what drew me in and what I think is so beautiful. I also got this gouache set, so I got two little palettes, a watercolor one and a gouache one, and I'm just going to read to you what it says on the label. So it says, "Thank you for supporting Indigenous female business. Our paints are made with local Manitoulin Island honey, wild-crafted tree sap, hand-gathered, washed and sifted Manitoulin stone, and the finest light, fast pigments. We strive to be plastic-free in our items and packaging. A focus on making and packaging using natural materials like beeswax and hand-cut or reclaimed wood means embracing the variations of irregularities that occur. Thank you for your support." So as I started swatching them, I was immediately impressed. They were very pigmented and very vibrant. I did put a little drop of water before I started swatching just so they could be activated and ready to go. But the vibrancy, the colors, I was very impressed, and a little paint goes a long way. So it looks like when you get it, you're literally getting a little tiny dot of paint. But I will tell you, since I've started editing this, I've used these paints a few times now, like 5 times, and I've painted quite a lot of things with them, and there's still quite a bit of paint left. I'm not completely sure how far that hole goes down into the wood. I don't imagine it's very deep, but I will let you know maybe in a future video how much paint is actually in there. But the amount of paint you're getting, to me, it doesn't really matter because I really just love the aesthetic of the whole palette. And, like I said, a little paint goes a long way. So these paints actually did not come with names in the packaging. I had to eventually look up the names on Indigo's website of which came with what palette. So it wasn't a downfall. It was just, you have to do a little research sometimes. But I wish there was some sort of printing of the names. So I'm just going to go over the names for you. So to start at the top, we have magenta, summer sun red, peach, pumpkin, fall poplar yellow, spring green, robin's egg blue, great ocean, almost night, gouache lavender, and gold. So then it came time to swatch the gouache palette, and at first glance, I was expecting it to be more opaque like traditional gouaches that I've used, and this was not it. This was not what I was expecting. It performed more like a watercolor on paper, so I was a little disappointed. So from my experience with gouache, it's more of an opaque medium, and at first glance, trying to swatch the gouache palette, I wasn't as impressed. But then I allowed more time for the water to really soak into the paints, and I did get a bit more pigment out of them, so they do look a little bit more like gouache. I still think they perform better as watercolors, but if you just allow more time for the water to soak into the paints, you can get that more opaque look. So that's them after letting them soak, and that's kind of my first attempt at using them. So here's a close-up, those little swatch squares of what the gouache looked like on white paper. And like I said, it just ended up looking a bit more like a watercolor, but I wasn't too disappointed because they were beautiful colors. Here are the names of the gouache set. We have wild rose, morning peach, cream, butter, spring green, robin's egg blue, ice blue, lavender, gray ultra, limestone white, and gold. So there were a couple of doubles of the robin's egg, gold, and lavender that we had in our last palette. So before we get into a little painting tutorial with them, I just want to give you my final thoughts on the paints, if they're worth it. I definitely think they're worth it. If I knew that the gouache wasn't going to be as gouache, I probably wouldn't have bought that palette as well. I mean, I'm glad I have it. There's some colors that I really, really love in here that weren't in the watercolor set. Spring Green was another double, but I feel like they perform differently a little bit, and they do look a little different in the palette, so I think they are slightly different. But overall, I love these paints, and I just find them very inspiring to use. I've used them a few times now, and I think they personally are absolutely wonderful. So I definitely recommend them. Okay, so now that we have swatched all of these beautiful colors, I think we should paint something with them. And the thing that's coming to mind right now are some like bright colored feathers that are popsicles because I'm getting like this popsicle summery vibe. And I will be using the gouache set as watercolors just because that's kind of how they perform a bit more. So we're just going to kind of mix and match, and we're going to do a little feather tutorial. So I'm just going to put a drop of water on every single one of these paints so they can kind of reactivate and get nice and ready to be painted with. But one thing, so I'm not gonna lie, it's been 2 days since I got these paints, which is why they look like they're a bit more used than when I swatched them. I have been taking them outside to paint at night when my son goes to bed, and I kind of love how small and portable they are. You know, when I first opened them, I was a little bit like, oh, they're so tiny, but they're actually really great to just like have in your hand and hold and paint with. So I actually love how tiny they are, and they're just so beautiful to use. They're very inspiring. So we're gonna do a little feather tutorial, and feathers are quite easy and they're fun to paint. So I am just drawn to this like tealish color, which I believe is the same as that one. But we're just going to start off by doing a long, you can even like break it up, see how it's not all like one stroke, a long curved stem, okay? And then you're just gonna kind of, I'm just gonna water down my paints a bit more so we can do a bit more wet on wet. I'm gonna have it coming up to a point here. It's gonna be kind of like a V, like an arrowhead at the top here. And then you're just gonna come down alongside of it, but then coming in every once in a while and coming back out. Okay, just like those little breaks in the feathers. And I'm just going really light wash because I want to go in and do a bit more wet on wet. And I tend to sometimes leave an extra little space beside the center line, a little bit of white space, and I'm just going to fill this in with water. I'm actually going to use my size 12 brush. I'm using my Princeton snap brushes for this, just so you know. Fill this in with water. Feathers are a really fun and relaxing thing to paint when you have no other ideas. This was supposed to be one of my videos of that kind of thing that I was doing, but we're gonna use it for this instead. You're just gonna drop in that color. And so if you leave that like centerpiece, you have a little bit of a white space in between there. You just kind of flick it out. I think I'm going to use some of this purple too in the same feather. Clearly these are not realistic feathers. They're just going to be fun, dreamy feathers. You can just drop it in wherever you want. You could do some dots if you like. Okay. But just really enjoying that kind of like calming wet on wet effect. And then with a smaller brush, so my size 6, I'm just gonna take my purple and just with the tip, I'm just gonna do some like little feathery, loose pieces at the bottom, like that, and it just makes it look a bit more realistic. A little kind of bump at the end of the part here. So this is my size 6 round brush, and the other one was a size 12. And you know what? I'm gonna take some of this gold and drop it in at the tip, just for fun.
That might be a bit too much water. And if it dries all kind of funky, that's okay too. You could do like little dots if you want. Just have fun with it. I love this color palette. So I think what drew me to these paints was, one, the way they looked. I love that they're in this like little wood slice, and how natural they look, but also the color selection. They're just so vibrant and beautiful. I had to. So let's try another one. I'm gonna grab some pink. Again, I'm gonna do another curve. I'm gonna do another curve, like a little line right beside it for that white space, just about a little bit down, not to the end. And then we're gonna do that kind of like V at the top. Let me grab my bigger brush just so we can make sure it's all nice and wet. Oops, too much pigment, that's okay. Just having fun. Okay, and then you're just gonna come in every once in a while, leaving little slices. You can make it look a bit more feathery, like a little bit more broken up parts if you want. There's no wrong way to do this. So like, it's totally up to you how you want your feather to look. It can be kind of like a sparse feather, you know, where some pieces are missing. You could use like totally just like natural colors if you want. You can use more brush strokes like this. Totally up to you. And you could do like dots, lines, however you want it to look. It's totally up to you, like I just keep saying. And then your little pieces down here. Let's grab some peach just for fun. These colors are just giving me life. A bit more pink. Make it darker in some areas. Maybe a bit of red. And then I think I'm just gonna grab some more gold. Maybe down the stem a bit. Like that. So pretty. Okay, you can just keep going with different colors and shapes. Let's do another one. Let's do this blue. Such a bright blue, actually. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do this blue. It's a little bit more subtle. It's more of an ultramarine. Okay, our little point at the top, come down, fill it in, leave your white space beside that stem. Let me grab a bit more of this like color here. I love this turquoise color. I think the purple and this like turquoise color is my favorite. I think it's called Robin's Egg. Also, the color names did not come with the packaging. I believe there are color names for each of these. I think I saw on the website, so I'm gonna go back when I edit this video, which you would have already seen, and put the color names in the front of the video while I'm swatching them, but I'll also list them down below as long as I can find them so you guys can know what the color names are, because I think they have some like really cute like earthy names, which I love. I'm gonna do some little dots. Like that. Let's do like a yellow and green. I'm gonna use this palette. The paints are very pigmented. They're very beautiful. I love these paints. And yeah, I don't know what else to say besides I really, really like them. Love this like lime green color. The colors are just so fun and not in like a traditional watercolor palette, which I really like. Nothing that I've had before, at least. I know there are other ones out there like this, but I've never personally bought any, so. Let's try this green too. Yeah, this one's a bit more greeny. Maybe a bit of blue. Darken it up at the bottom. And then our gold. There we go. And there are our beautiful popsicle colored feathers. So all in all, I really love these paints. They're so fun to use. And I think just because they're aesthetic, they're very inspiring to use. And I'm having so much fun with them. So I highly recommend them. Like I said before, as for the gouache set, it doesn't really perform as a gouache, which I was a little disappointed with, but they ended up just being more beautiful watercolors. So I'm not mad. But overall, if you can go and grab yourself a set of these small, just one small little paint, highly recommend doing that. They also have some other products on their website, so just go and show them some love, check them out, and if this is something you think you like, I definitely recommend them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye!